It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday, so rinse and repeat. Oh, yeah, the smoke is back.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tails.
Authentic artificial. That sounds just delicious.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Real quick thing on the smoke that we've been having. That was nice as we started into the weekend. There was still smoke, but it was less, just a lot less. And even some rain that passed through the area. Well, for a lot of you who got good rain, because some of you did. Some of you got some good showers across Wyoming and the region, and that helped scrub out the sky. So for a while there, you were literally breathing easy. Okay, now, last week and the week before that, the smoke that was coming down from Canada. And thankfully, a bunch of rain up in that area has helped a whole lot. Those fires, while they're still dealing with them, are not like they were before, so we're not getting a whole lot of smoke out of Canada right now, so good for Canada. So it's time for California to burn. And, of course, the wind direction changes in such a way that starts to blow that smoke directly from California toward us. So here we go again. Now, despite what the cult of climate change will tell you, the smoke is actually, and fires that are out there, are nothing unusual. In fact, over time, we've had fewer fires, not more. But we've had some that were significant, and it's causing a lot of smoke for us. We'll have to put up with this for a while, because about this week, because the smoke is going to be coming from the west, moving toward the east. Sometime next week, they start getting rain out there in California. That'll help a whole lot. Until then, we're just warm and dry and smoky for a little while, and sorry about that. But I'll keep you up to date with those smoke forecasts, and keep an eye on, for those people who have respiratory problems, we post about that, and there's news about that on our radio stations here at Town Square Media. So, a couple of stories. I'm just kind of, I hate having to do this. I'm looking at the story that I'm about to read. Unfortunately, it deals with a few celebrities. And whenever I go over to look at, I have to look at their faces. And I really don't like Rob Reiner. I really don't want to look at their faces. But okay, here we go. Since we're into an election year, people always have to make the opponent seem as extreme as can be. Sometimes opponents are extreme. But even then, they have to make them seem more extreme. Now, it's very typical. Every presidential election cycle, there are conservatives that will ask me, so you think we're going to have an election this time? And I know what they mean by that, but I always ask them what they mean by that. Well, you know, they'll declare martial law and shut everything down. We're not going to have an election and so on. Liberals do that too. So here's the first headline for you. Celebs, or celebrities, spread deceptively edited videos falsely claiming that Trump will outlaw elections. Okay, first off, if you know anything about the way our government works, Trump cannot outlaw elections. Oh, but he'll find a way to do it. And that's what they've been saying for, who was it that, wasn't Rob Reiner, but during the Trump trials, who showed up and started screaming that if Trump is elected, he will not be leaving. Okay, this is what you're getting from these people. All right, so Their suspicious calm tones, the story says, comes from a recent speech during which GOP presidential nominee encouraged Christians to turn out en masse this November. With important context, they cut this video. It's heavily edited. Okay. For years, let me see, let me back up a little bit. Okay. Quote, for years it'll be fixed, it'll be fine, you won't have to vote anymore. In 4 years, you won't have to vote again, Trump said Friday to a crowd. See, this is all heavily edited stuff. They're trying to say that Trump was saying, you won't ever have to vote again, don't worry, I got this. All right, so Rob Reiner says, there it is. Trump told a gathering of Christians if they voted for him this time, he'd fix it so they'd never have to vote again. He point-blank said he will destroy our democracy. Keep 250 years of self-rule alive. Vote Kamala. Well, if you vote for Harris, she's the one who wants to take freedom of choice away from you, not give it to you. But all right, reading on. Let's see. Mia Farrow. Here it is, America. We were warned. Oh, look, she has a bit of the clip here. And this, of course, is edited, so I'll play it for you. Listen for the edits if you can. And it's got to go over to X, formerly Twitter. And let me go ahead and make sure the volume is on here for it. Oh, God, it's not going to give me the volume. I got it. Here we go.
Do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote.
All right, let's do that again from the beginning.
And again, Christians, get out and vote. Just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine.
Okay, so let's take a look at what Trump is really talking about here. If you vote for me, he's talking about things that he'll be fixed. Give me 4 more years is what he's saying. If you give me 4 more years, I'll fix it. It'll be fine. You won't have to do it anymore. In other words, vote for me because he's going to fix it what it is. That doesn't mean he's not going to have elections anymore. But that's what celebrities are doing. Let's see. Here's another one. Another Atlantic hoax, Atlantic magazine, false claim that Trump will end elections. Yesterday, former President Donald Trump told a group of supporters they won't ever have to vote again. Here again, that's not what he said. He didn't say clearly that you will never have to vote again. He's talking about vote for him again because this is the last time he can run. Okay, that's what he meant in context, not taken out of context. But this is an election year. Well, both sides do this to each other all the time. But in an election year, Democrats will, of course, because they want to get rid of Republicans entirely, if they can, House, Senate, President is what I mean, that they will say anything, twist anything. I wouldn't doubt in the mind of Rob Reiner, for example, he actually believes what he said. But in most cases, the Democrats know exactly what they're doing. They're taking words, they're twisting them out of context to mean something else. So Trump means you won't have to vote for me. Just do it this one time. You won't have to do it anymore because he can't run anymore. That's what he means. Not that I'm going to get rid of all elections. But that's an election year for you. Morning, Chet. Chet says, whatever the Democrats blame Republicans of doing, the Democrats are actually doing it. I usually find that to be true. You're right.
In the last 11 years, 115 people died of weightlifting accidents in a gym. In that same 11 years, only 1 person died of eating a donut. Make good choices, people.
Now, Glenn Woods fits in your pocket with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030, K2 Radio.
.36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming on a completely different note. So Wyoming has this, great dinosaur collection, and we're finding more all the time. Well, there's one massive dinosaur that was shipped to Denmark no, it was not a T-Rex. Shipped to Denmark for just a museum showing there. It came out of a quarry in the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming. I mean, this sucker is it's huge. One of these long-necked, big, huge. Anyway, it was lost in the mail. Here's the story. Yeah, here's the story. Museum of Evolution in Denmark has unveiled its newest animal attraction, a 150 million year old Camarasaurus is what they call this thing. It looks like Dino from the Flintstones, but much bigger, right? Okay. It's found in a quarry in the Big Horn Basin of Wyoming. But the dinosaur's journey from the cowboy state became a harrowing one when the massive long-necked saurus was flown from Utah, from Wyoming. They took it from Utah, from Wyoming to Utah, then flew it from Utah to Denmark, but got lost for about a week along the way. The director of the museum told Cowboy State Daily that the fossilized skeleton is notable for its exceptional preservation. More than 97% of the bones from the 42-foot-long giant was found. Many still connected, which is not really typical. When an animal dies, of any kind of animal, a lot of things happen to it over time, including other animals eating it and dragging pieces of it all over the place. Water will wash it away. I mean, all sorts of things happen. So usually finding bones, they're just scattered all over the place. Good luck finding a whole animal. Well, this saurus, a herbivore, of course, is one of the most common dinosaurs in the late Jurassic period, more than about 146 million years ago. After it was excavated and underwent over 12,000 hours of meticulous restoration, the specimen was then shipped from Utah to the Museum of Evolution in Denmark. After the specimen was packed for the transatlantic trip to Denmark, it had a layover in Switzerland. Quote, the specimen was shipped directly from Utah, mistakenly registered in customs upon arrival in Switzerland. The registration error extended the normally 1 week transit period to 2 weeks. So for a while there, they just had no idea where this sucker was because of basically a clerical error. Can you imagine the panic for a week as they have no idea where this thing is? There was even a moment when the dinosaur disappeared between Switzerland and Denmark since it was shipped in several containers. Multiple trackers were needed to follow the journey for this whole. It is a lot like when you order something, Amazon, let's say, whatever it might be, and you have that tracking order number supposed to be heading your way. Once the Wyoming dinosaur was found in the Swiss capital and confirmed as Danish property, it was successfully reaching its new destination, which is a Museum of Evolution, which is, they have over there. World-class specimen, they say. I want to know, how did they wind up? I guess maybe they just bought the thing, which is typical. We have here in the United States dinosaur bones from all over the world we bought from different places. So I guess someone decided to buy this thing and ship it over. And that could be a lot of money. I mean, a whole lot of money. There was a show on television for a while. I wish they were still doing it. Northern Wyoming, up on some ranches. They find T-Rex bones, Triceratops bones, all sorts of other things on ranches up there. So ranches who need to make some extra money will spend some time looking for and digging around for dinosaur bones. When they find them, they get them cleaned up and then try to sell them in an open market, which universities might buy them. Sometimes it's private collectors too, but yeah, some of these ranchers have made millions off of this. Now, if you're thinking, well, they made millions, so they've got to be stinking rich. Well, a lot of times, if you know anything about ranching, making millions like that means they got to pay off all of their loans, and now the bank isn't going to come and seize the ranch. It's usually what that means, which is why these guys do this on the side, because they know a good find can really bring in a lot of money. A lot of little finds will do well for them too, but they want that really big find, like winning the lottery ticket, right? So anyway, this sucker apparently purchased, heading on over to Denmark, disappeared for a week. I just would, it sounds cruel, I know, would love to have been sitting in that room to watch the panic when they realized they couldn't find the thing, and then spent about a week looking for it, and it was all just a clerical error.
This is how you know you've been married too long. So my husband makes me my coffee today, right? And as he's walking out the front door to go to work, he winks at me. I have literally never been so scared to drink anything in my entire life.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
Wyoming. Off we go over to the ice box where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, sometimes when you walk into different restaurants or other establishments where tourists are often welcome, you got to be careful of what you see displayed out there because it's not always real. Well, I would say the jackalope, but we all know that's real.
And then,
yes,
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a pet jackalope,
Yeah, sure.
His name is Jack.
Yeah, there you go. And did you elope with him? Okay.
No.
Now, there's one in Cody, Wyoming, in a restaurant there. And this restaurant used to be a brothel.
Okay.
All right, so there's a picture there on the wall with many other pictures of a lady of the evening from way back when.
Okay.
And underneath her is what looks like an old piece of paper, and it looks very official. It is a license for prostitution.
Oh, you needed a license to do that. Boy, have times changed.
Sure. And it was signed by Marshal Wyatt Earp.
Really?
Yeah.
He approved of that.
Sure he did.
Sure he did, yeah.
Now, the only
in
problem,
Cody, Wyoming.
Yeah. Now, the other problem I'm having there is, first off, Wyatt Earp was not a marshal in Wyoming.
No, I was going to say.
Yeah, that was part of the problem there. Also, I'm sort of double-checking the dates here because it looks like that this was issued in 1816, and I don't think he was. He wouldn't have been a marshal back then.
This is the kind of fact-checking we need every day around here.
Yes, you got to be very careful about this. Yes. So, let's see, Wyatt Earp 18, or is it? It could be a 76. No, I see it up here, 1876. Okay, so still though, he wouldn't have been a marshal in Wyoming at the time. So he was never a marshal in Wyoming at all. Still though, if you're a tourist and you see a picture of a lady of the evening and underneath there is a certificate license for prostitution, what would you think as a tourist?
Well, I would say, where's the rest of them? And show me your papers.
Yeah. And then next thing you got to wonder is, did such a thing ever happen in Wyoming at all? I mean, it could have been another state, but that whole thing would have been brought to Wyoming and put on display, but it's not.
Well, it's not like it was invented in Wyoming.
No, right. Well, not prostitution anyway, no.
Well,
license for it, I don't know. But anyway, the point is, people are very suspicious about whether this is authentic or not. So I would say, much like many other things you see hanging on walls around restaurants, enjoy it, but be a little suspicious.
Yeah, don't take it too seriously. All right, the Cheyenne Frontier Days rodeo wrapped up yesterday in Cheyenne, and the final round paid out some big dollars in the bareback. Clay Jorgensen won the CFD buckle with a 90. He's from Watford City, North Dakota, won over $8,400. In the saddle bronc, Logan Cook from Alto, Texas, with a 90 to win the final round and won over $8,100. TJ Gray, the bull riding winner at CFD this year, with a 90 in the final round. He's from Derry, Oregon, and took home $8,200. And these numbers, by the way, are just for the final round. They won extra money in the previous performances and in the semifinals. In the steer wrestling, Denton Good from Long Valley, South Dakota, with a 6 and 5 in the final, so he earned $6,900 on Sunday alone. In the tie-down roping, Shad Mayfield from Clovis, New Mexico, with a 10 and 1, so that was worth $9,200 just on Sunday alone. In the steer roping, Tough Hardman from Atoka, Oklahoma, with a 14 and 5, so he is the CFD champion, and just on Sunday, he won over $10,000. Hayes Smith from Central Point, Oregon, and Justin Smith from Leesville, Louisiana, with an 8 and 3 in the team roping to win that. And for just on Sunday, they won $9,200 each. And Jordan Briggs from Tolar, Texas, wins the barrel racing with a time in the finals of 17.06, and she won over $10,000 just on Sunday alone. American Legion Baseball, the State A tournament moving along in Powell. Yesterday, Cody defeated the Casper Drillers 5-4. Powell over Lovell 8-4. Torrington eliminated Gillette 12-11, and Evanston eliminated Sheridan 5-3. Today at 1 p.m. in a loser-out game, Torrington will take on Casper, and another loser-out game, Evanston will meet Lovell at 4, and then Cody and Powell in the winners bracket at 7 p.m. That tournament continues through Wednesday up in Powell. The state AA Legion tournament begins today in Casper. Sheridan and Laramie will kick things off at 10 a.m. over at Lansing Field. The Cheyenne Sixers, the defending state champions, will take on Rock Springs at 1. The Gillette Rough Riders will be the Cheyenne Hawks at 4 p.m. and the Casper Oilers will take on Jackson at 7 p.m. and this tournament will run the rest of the week over at Lansing Field. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies lost to San Francisco 5-4. The Rockies lost all 4 games of that series and struck out 53 times in the series. Holy cow.
Struck out 53 times.
And over the course of 4 games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hit ball.
Why even show up to play if you're going to be that
You're
bad?
getting paid.
Oh, okay. You're getting paid to suck, basically.
Yeah.
So, okay.
You've had bad days, haven't you?
Yeah, but not that many in a row.
Oh, no, that's true.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen someday,
Yeah,
but not
okay.
yet. All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. Is Google messing around with searches for the Trump assassination? I'll explain. Something might be up. We'll take a look at it. Wake up, Wyoming.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake up, Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
He wants to end lifetime terms for Supreme Court justices. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and that's just one of the reforms that the Supreme Court President Biden's calling for.
The president making the case in a Washington Post op-ed calling first for a constitutional amendment that would make clear there is no immunity for crimes a former president commits while in office. He also says justices should be limited to 18-year terms, and presidents would nominate a justice every 2 years. President Biden says Supreme Court justices should also be bound by a code of conduct, calling the current voluntary ethics code weak and self-enforced.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. Vice President Harris, who replaced the president as the presumptive Democratic 2024 nominee, just put out a statement. There's a crisis of confidence in the Supreme Court after ethics scandals and decision after decision overturning long-standing precedent. One of those involves abortion rights, and today a new law takes effect in Iowa,
preventing most abortions after about 6 weeks of pregnancy before many women know they're pregnant. Currently, 14 states have near total bans at all stages of pregnancy, and Iowa makes the 4th state to ban them after 6 weeks.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Officials in the Golan Heights keep going through the rubble of an attack Israel blames on Hezbollah from Lebanon, vowing retaliation.
Overnight, the Israeli cabinet met to discuss operational plans for offensive action against the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. This does come after a rocket attack in the Golan Heights killed 12 Druze children and teens.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. There's controversy over the vote in Venezuela. President Nicolas Maduro claims he won a 3rd term, but Fox's Evan Brown reports
Maduro's main opponent, Edmundo Gonzalez, says the victory Maduro is claiming of 55 to 44% is unverifiable and that Maduro's government is refusing to release tallies from 30,000 polling places now that their exit polling showed an opposition victory.
The U.S. is among the countries doubting the Venezuela election results. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than what we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with a proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 98.
dirty vehicle? Get that summer shine back at Wash & Glow. Wash & Glow offers the most advanced technology in the industry and free vacuums. Wash & Glow at 4055 Plaza Drive next to the West Side Walmart. Sunny, hazy, and warm. We're going to be warm and sunny and hazy all week with 80s and 90s, nights mostly in the 50s today through Friday, and likely dry until maybe a better chance of late day showers and thunderstorms return for the weekend.
I always tell people I was the luckiest guy in the world. I wanted to be an army man or a fireman, and I got to do both. As a firefighter, my job was about saving lives. I never thought one day I would be fighting for mine.
After spending his career answering the call to save others, Ken was diagnosed with ALS. Now he's facing his biggest battle, for more time. For 70 years, Muscular Dystrophy Association has been answering the call to help people live longer and more independent lives.
MDA means to me hope.
MDA is leading the way for people living with ALS, muscular dystrophy, and other neuromuscular diseases by accelerating research, advancing care, and advocating to empower families like Ken's.
I wouldn't be living as good of a life with ALS if it wasn't for MDA. MDA is helping people live stronger and love longer. Learn more at MDA.org today.
Everyone has a community to lean on. A neighborhood, school, kids' teams, where you worship, work out, or any other place or group where you choose to belong. Communities can provide support when you need it, and even when you don't know you do. Like when it comes to preventing underage drinking and other substance use. You've talked with your kids and shared clear expectations, but you're not with them every minute. Your community members, friends and relatives, teachers and coaches, faith leaders, and other important adults in your kids' lives can be your eyes, ears, and a supportive influence when you're not around, reinforcing your messages with your kids and alerting you to warning signs of underage drinking or other substance use. So talk with your kids about these issues and involve the members of your community to help keep your kids safe. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information, visit talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
Help protect your family from flu this season by taking 3 easy steps. First, get yourself and your family a flu shot. It's quick and can protect you all season. Second, take everyday actions to help prevent the spread of germs like flu. Cover your cough, stay home from work or school if you're sick, and wash your hands often. Third, there are drugs that can treat flu illness. These work best when started early. Learn more at cdc.gov/fightflu.
Hi, I'm E.J. Williams. Each year, millions of animals are abandoned, and more than 1 million are euthanized before they can be rescued. Organizations like American Humane are working to harness the healing power of the human-animal bond, as animals can be trained as life-saving service and therapy dogs to help veterans, the elderly, and children with special needs to overcome the obstacles of everyday life. To find out how you can help give animals and the people they help a new leash on life, please visit AmericanHumane.org.
Seven oh six the time. Wake Up Wyoming Monday. Smoky again out there. Hang in, folks. It's going to stay smoky for just a little while longer. Then there might be some relief. Don Day will be on at 7:45 to talk to us about the weather and the smoke and all of that.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tail.
It's the authentic artificial that makes it sound I got to try it. So, all right. This I was looking into quite a bit this morning because I was very suspicious of the story when I first saw it, but there's quite a few news organizations, including not conservative news organizations, that are looking at this, and I'm just curious as to why. So let's explore why. Let's say you wanted to Google some information about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, and you're using Google. What could possibly go wrong? So I'll go to a non-conservative site, a couple of them first. Newsweek magazine. Is Google blocking Donald Trump's assassination attempt what we know? They write, a number of Republican figures have noted that Google's search is not showing results for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And this is important because I first typed it in and I saw something. And well, isn't that all right? No, not what I was seeing in front of me. In its autocomplete feature. All right. So Google has told Newsweek, we're working on improvements. Users of the popular search engine are not seeing the recent shooting against the former president in Pennsylvania as a drop-down option when typed into the Google search bar. Newsweek confirmed that mentions of the July 13th shooting do not come up when Google, the assistant, Google Assistant is something you can type in or speak to. Instead, the first result of the autocomplete feature is the attempted assassination of former President Harry S. Truman in 1950. Now, a spokesperson for Google denies any malicious action on their part. Instead, Google systems have protections against autocomplete predictions associated with political violence, which, what if you want to look up something that is political violence? Now, okay. Now, of course, that's just autocomplete. It's just one of the tools that they have. You can still search for anything you want in just regular Google. All right, now another one. I went to, so yeah, there's a difference here because I went to search just regular Google and I found all sorts of things on it from all sorts of different news organizations and so on. But this is a different Google search you can do, autocomplete, or for that matter, if you're talking to a Google, if you have one of those home devices, try it on there, see what you get. From the New York Post, Google omits Trump assassination attempt from key feature as one person claims, big tech is trying to interfere with the election. Well, I kind of doubt that, but I think Google has a different problem. But I'll get to that in just a minute. A key Google feature, the story says, is failing to show results for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, drawing claims from the former president's son that big tech companies are trying to influence the election. Google users were supposed to discover that the search engine's, again, autocomplete, was omitting suggestions of the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, just not showing anything. Again, showing maybe former presidents, things like that. And again, Google says, oh, no, we're working on it. Now, this to me is not so much even about Trump, although you might immediately think that it is. Let's go back a little bit. So we had a while ago a problem with Google artificial intelligence creating pictures. So let's say you said you wanted artificial intelligence to create for you a picture of George Washington. Well, okay, but why does your George Washington have skin as dark as someone from Africa and yet a face that's much like someone from Japan? And yet he's dressed like George Washington. What? In fact, there's all sorts of different figures that you can name. And it always seemed to go with some kind of mixed minority thing. I mean, it was just very odd what it was doing. Google said, we'll fix it. Because if you want artificial intelligence to create an image for you of George Washington, what you hope to see is George Washington. So why would they, what exactly are they trying to do? What is the algorithm up to? So they went ahead and fixed it, and I haven't heard of any complaints in a while here, but some people said, is this an attempt to do something kind of woke here, be politically correct, whatever the case is? Probably the people who were writing the algorithm were trying to do something, again, more politically correct or woke, or as they would say, inclusive. And it leaked into the algorithm in a way that had unintended consequences. So from what I'm reading here, what I'm understanding so far, not in the regular Google search, but in its autocomplete search, they're trying to filter out certain things. You know, like, for example, something that might be violence or something that might be too political, especially dealing with violence during an election year, you know, things like that. And as they try to filter it, they have all sorts of unintended consequences. But it also lets us know a little bit more about who is at Google. Because all of these things are not being done by individuals. The individuals will tell the program what to do, and the program does it. All right. So if you're ever, let's say, on Facebook, and Facebook blurs something out so you can't see it. Facebook blurred it out because the algorithm is trained to do so. There's not a person there, no individual blurred out what you did or told people that, or flagged it in some way, or what they call shadow ban so not many people can see it. They created an algorithm that looks for certain keywords and phrases, and that's what's working, whatever it is you posted. It's an algorithm that is looking for trends and blocking those trends. All right. But a person had to write the algorithm, right? Okay. Sometimes it is malicious. Sometimes it's unintended consequences. In the case of Trump here, I don't think anyone's trying to manipulate, but I think it is an unintended consequence of something that Google's trying to do. Is Google leftist biased? Extremely. Yes. They have major problems at Google. I mean, big time. This is why I've said to people over the years, you don't have to use Google. I use them daily because they have a way of organizing all of the different websites that I go to do news research and so on. But I get to choose what news organizations and opinion organizations I'm reading from every single day. And they don't edit that. And if I do something here at work, it's on my phone, it's at home, it's wherever I log into my account, there it is. And it's a very handy program, and that's what I use it for. But whenever I want to search for something, I use a different search engine completely. And you can go ahead and do that too. There's a number of them out there that don't do what Google's doing as far as trying to manipulate. And the same thing goes for social media. There's all sorts of different social media out there that you can go to. You don't have to be on Facebook. It's just that so many people around the world are. A lot of people find it hard to give up. And the Facebook program is actually a very good program, other than it blocks and bans and shadow bans and, Now, what I think is fun is when I'm looking at something on Facebook and it gets blurred out and there's a warning on there. Our fact checkers show that this is not correct. See why. Well, I can still click to view whatever it is. They still give me that option. And I don't care to see why. I like to see what is it they're hiding. I find in most cases I agree with it because their algorithm just completely stinks. So I go ahead and click on it also just to kind of poke, not like Facebook is paying attention. The reason I'm reading this Facebook is because you blurred it. That's why. That's why I'm reading this thing, because you decided to blur it. And yet Facebook can be every bit as bad as Google when they say our fact checkers have shown. Their fact checkers are garbage. Their fact checkers are not actually good fact checkers at all. In fact, if you want bias and lying and manipulative, look to Facebook and Google. And I would say YouTube, but they're the same thing as far as fact checkers go. All right, so we'll see how this turns out. Google says they're fixing the problem, so when you type in the search engine looking for anything about the attempted assassination of Trump, you're going to get what you're looking for. Whoops, sorry, says Google. Well, it doesn't look good, does it? We'll see how they fix it and talk their way out of it.
The brain names itself, and as a kid you're watching your parents grow up too. Cheese is just a loaf of milk. You've never been in an empty room. How do you throw away a garbage can? Brushing your teeth is the only time you clean your skeleton. Your whole life you're just gathering people for your funeral. You don't own money, it's just your turn with it. The last kid to leave the bus knows where everybody lives. He knows where everybody lives, but no one knows where he lives. That is kind of creepy. Don't think about it when you're sleeping.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all. Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
22 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So let's see here. Wild Transplant sent me a note. If you're just joining me, I was talking about people, conservatives, who are typing into Google or asking Google if they have one of those home units, something like that, about the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. And they weren't getting complete answers. In some cases, Google knew nothing about it. But it depends on what you're using, because if you go just to the straight Google website and type something in, you'll get an answer there. So Google's saying, well, we're working on it. Well, okay, I can believe in part that there's just a problem there that they would have to work on if it's shown up one place but not others. Having said that, though, there have been problems in the past, especially when it comes to fact-checking. So Wild Transplant writes me, Google does very conservative results, putting things that swing their way on the first result. That comes from a guy who worked where research is done all the time. His name is Epstein. Can't call up his first name. Okay. I haven't tried that with Alex Epstein yet, but that'd be worth it. I know that there's a lot of so-called fact-checking that goes on, which is just garbage. For example, there were congressional hearings, and I was looking for the video a while ago, but I have to watch out because I was looking on YouTube, and YouTube is owned by Google. Yeah, Google bought out YouTube a while ago. There was a congressional hearing where there was a woman who worked for Facebook. And when it came to information about COVID, she was only letting certain information through. Information that would be approved officially by the administration at the time, Biden administration. There was certain approved information that you were allowed to see. Anything else was deemed false information. And she would write the algorithm to block it. So a member of Congress, a Republican, was asking her, well, what are your qualifications when it comes to COVID? She has none whatsoever. Yet she's a fact checker, but she has no qualifications when it comes to COVID. Meantime, there was information coming out of all places, Harvard University, which disagreed with what the Biden administration was saying. So she would block the Harvard research in favor of what the Biden administration wanted you to know, because obviously the Biden administration knows what they're talking about, not a bunch of stupid researchers at Harvard University, right? Okay. These are the kind of fact checkers that you get. And there's been some stories just recently when it comes to fact checking that we've even heard our independent fact checkers show. And yet independent fact checkers are wrong. In fact, that was one of the main topics we had just last week about how a lot of the independent fact checkers are just garbage and they have no idea what they're talking about. And so who's checking the fact checkers? Really, someone's got to fact check the fact checkers these days. And it really does take a lot of digging to find out. I think one of the best ways to do this is don't believe other party information. In other words, I know you want to find people that you trust, right? But if you really want to know something, you're going to have to dig deeper. Just because a news organization said it, so what? A person that you know who you trust said it, so what? You know, digging and doing real research goes way beyond that if you want to find out something. And yeah, you've got to get off the regular search engines that everybody else uses. You're not going to find it on social media like a Facebook or a Twitter. You're not going to find good information on someplace like Google, but you're going to have to use other platforms to do it. And I know that's going to be a lot of work. If you're willing to do it, then okay. It really is worth it if you're willing to do all that kind of work. And I know a lot of you just simply don't have the time to do it. So suffice to say then, a lot of the fact checkers that you have out there have no idea what they're talking about. And it's going to happen many more times during the course of this election cycle. I was dealing with one of those issues first thing this morning. Donald Trump is going to shut down elections, and they were manipulating his words that we'll never have elections again after Donald Trump. They took Trump's words and they manipulated it. And let's see the fact checkers deal with that. I would really love them to do so. But it does, for me, though, I find, and this is partly to amuse myself, but also because I know that the fact checkers don't know what they're talking about. Usually if there's a social media fact checker that says this is wrong, chances are it's right. So when they blur something, block something, shadow ban something, chances are you might have good information here. That doesn't guarantee it, but these fact checkers are so often wrong and politicized. But also remember, though, they're not exactly there. I think that's important to remember. There's not a person taking a look at those things and blocking them in most cases. They write an algorithm. The algorithm looks for keywords and phrases and blocks them. So you can actually get around those algorithms if you are really good at creative writing. I've seen people use different words and phraseology that a thinking human being will understand, reading between the lines. But a computer algorithm will not understand. So there are ways you can go ahead and post what you want if you know how to post it creatively. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of right after a local news update on the weather forecast, and you and I get back into it again. 7:45, Dawn Day will be on with us to talk about not just some dry weather in the area. Yeah, a little bit warmer, some dry weather. Smoke has returned, but from a completely different direction, completely different fires. Canadian fires, actually, a lot of them are down and out, but that's not where this new smoke is coming from. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Weekend. Download the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Listen anywhere and chat live with Glenn during the show on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so on Friday, I started hearing reports that in the Campbell County area, north of Gillette, there was a plane crash. Now, of course, as you know, being an aviation enthusiast as I am, I wondered, well, what was that? And then as more details came in, all right, so even my flight instructor over the weekend, did you hear about that? At first I wasn't sure he was talking about the same one, but then I realized he was. It was who was on board that airplane that I think is important. I have a story on the Wake Up Wyoming site this morning about it. For those aviation buffs, the airplane was called a Pilatus PC-12. It is an impressive airplane. Imagine a jet airplane, but instead of two jet engines in the back like a corporate jet, instead, it has one big engine with a propeller up front, and it's a jet-powered propeller. It's the best way to put it. Inside, it's just absolutely gorgeous. This is a state-of-the-art plane that can be purchased for quite a bit less than an actual jet, but while performance-wise, it's really impressive, comfortable inside. I mean, this is state-of-the-art stuff. Who was on board? Let me get to that first. It was the members of the gospel family group called the Nealons, which I first had heard about back in the 80s. And the group has gone through some changes because it's pretty much always been a family organization. But, you know, there's, I think, Dad that's no longer around. Different members have come and gone. They were always basically family members in one way or another. So three of the key members of the gospel group, the Nealons, were on board, and they have a long string of hits and awards and accolades, Hall of Famers as far as gospel music goes, People's Choice Awards, even Gospel Music Hall of Fame, and et cetera, et cetera. And if you go to their YouTube page and listen to their music, you'll understand why. Now, my understanding of where they were going, up to Montana, and somewhere up in there, there's a get-together of gospel singers around this time of year, was my understanding. But, so what happened then? Because if you know gospel music, you know the Nealons, and these are three key members. So this is going to be a big deal. I mean, a really big deal. When I was putting the story together this morning, I wanted to know who they were, exactly. Again, I remember the name, but let's take a look at what they've been up to over these years. I've heard about them because they're that big. and have been for a long time. And so when I went and looked it up, I went to their website, which has not mentioned anything about the plane crash. So I went to their social media, like Facebook, which has not mentioned anything. In fact, the last thing posted on their social media was the father and one of the lead singers there. He's with a couple of the ladies, his wife and daughter behind him, and they're standing in front of this airplane that they had died in, and they were in Nebraska refueling, then heading on up through Wyoming up to Montana. So I was really interested that nobody had posted anything on their pages, and I thought, it might just be that there's too much going on. No one's even thought about it. I mean, not even thought about it. So here's what we know so far about what happened, which is not a whole lot. So the pilot reported an equipment malfunction, and this had to do with the autopilot. Now, if you don't know, there's a thing called Flight Aware. And Flight Aware is where you can track airplanes. If you have a family member flying cross country, you know the tail number of the airplane? Type it into Flight Aware and watch them fly cross country. Yeah. Or you can just watch airplanes in general fly around cross country. Because that's all tracked these days. And it has to do with nothing spooky, nothing tin-hatted here. They're tracking airplanes so they can manage the traffic that's up there. All right. So, Flight Aware shows that this airplane starts oscillating way up and way down. I mean, way up and way down. For some reason, just violently going way up and way down, and then suddenly falling about 26,000 feet, and that was it. So what caused that? And the suspicion is there was something wrong with the autopilot, which just caused everything to go haywire in there. And it might have also been between the autopilot doing something it wasn't supposed to and maybe the pilot trying to get control of the autopilot that caused the crash. But if you're interested in a bit more about the crash itself, the plane, but also the people who are on board, because at first I just thought, a Pilatus crashed. All right. Well, there's a lot of people who use those airplanes because, again, it's like a corporate jet. It's high performance, but less expensive than a corporate jet, but just as nice. They're really impressive airplanes. But then when I find out who's on board, I thought, those folks who love their gospel music are really, torn up over this. 742, Wake Up.
Local and mobile across Wyoming and beyond with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Okay, Don, here's my theory. Canada ran out of trees to burn. But California said, what? Wyoming doesn't have any smoke? We got you, Wyoming. And they lit their forests on fire, and that's what we're smelling now.
Yeah, we've got smoke coming from California now, and the Central Sierra Nevadas, more so than the smoke that was coming in out of Canada last week.
Yeah, kind of thick and yellow out there this morning. So how long are we going to have to put up with this?
A week.
Okay. Yeah, but now this has to do with, again, it's all just kind of blowing directly over this way with a lot of dry air.
Very dry air. Relative humidities are going to drop quite a bit. Now, this is good in the sense that it is going to make the nights cool. So This is the time of year when you get these dry air masses in. You can be in the upper 80s and the 90s for highs and be in the upper 40s and lower 50s for lows. So open those windows at night because that'll help later in the day. But thunderstorms are going to be at a minimum for most of the week.
I would open my windows, but it's smoky out there. You see the problem?
I don't know what to tell you, Glenn.
Pick your poison. Okay.
It's like nobody's happy.
No matter what you do, nobody's happy. Now, we're still, of course, wondering, so when do we get relief from this? And it looks to me like, you'll have to wait till like next week before we see some changes.
Well, yeah, what'll happen is this is the summer cycle. I mean, this is textbook. We had the moisture come in late last week and over the weekend. A lot of folks experienced shower and thunderstorm activity. Now drier air is coming behind it, which is usually the case. We have to wait for the next subtropical plume, and that's going to come next week. That should bring back some rain chances into Wyoming. We may see a few showers and storms start to pop up a little bit more over the weekend, but really it's not until next week before any really good rain chances come back in.
Okay. And just real quick, temperature-wise here, typical summer, it looks like.
It's summer. 80s and 90s. We're not this is not record-breaking heat wave. This is just, we're into that time of year. I mean, was it Thursday? We're August?
Mm-hmm.
So the dog days of summer, you can't technically say it's the dog days of summer till August, by the way. But we're getting close.
All right. Dawn day. Thank you much. Dawn day with day weather. So, okay. At least the temperatures are going to be what you're used to for this time of year. Off we go to the icebox for Gambino waiting by. I've been making a list here of things that I'm really good at.
Short list.
Yeah, it is. Like 6 things. That's how much.
That many?
Yeah. Forgetting someone's name like 5 to 10 seconds after they told me, if not immediately.
Guilty as charged.
Okay. Buying produce and throwing it away 2 weeks later, having never eaten it.
Guilty as charged.
Okay. Digging through the trash for the food box I just tossed because I already forgot the directions.
I haven't reached that level of lowness.
Right. Making plans and then immediately regretting making the plans.
That's an every so often thing. Yeah,
that's okay. Leaving laundry in the dryer until it wrinkles, then turning on the dryer to de-wrinkle it and forgetting it again.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, okay. Calculating how much sleep I'll get if I can just fall asleep right now.
I've been down that road, and it's not a real pleasant experience.
No, it really is not. No. But there's the thing that gets me is I spend all day long, trying to get through a day because on that particular day, I'm tired, right? And so I'm really pushing myself, trying to make it through the day. Finally, I go to bed and I lay down and my face hits that pillow hard. I am just exhausted. Okay, brain, shut off. Let's do this.
It's hard to do.
It won't do it. Yeah. Now okay, listen, brain, which means my left brain is talking to my right brain or something like that. One lobe is talking to another lobe. Why would you drag me all the way in here? I can't even keep my eyes open only to keep me awake at this point. Hell's wrong with you?
You're concentrating on too much. You know what you got to do, Glenn, to sleep better? Yeah. Don't care about anything or anybody.
Okay. Well, I've already got that covered.
You'll sleep great.
Okay. No, I already got that covered. I think it was not that I worry about things or I fret about things. I think it's partly because my brain is just always active and working on something.
We're back to this thing.
Yeah.
You don't care about anything or anybody. The brain will slow down because you have nothing to think about.
Okay. The other thing I think people often do is there's, which I won't do, large amounts of alcohol. Might go ahead and do it. Or here, some people do this. They pick up a book to read it. And reading puts them immediately to sleep.
Oh, yeah. Or some people can read 25, 30 pages, and then they're still now they're engaged in the book. Now they can't go to sleep.
Speaking of engaged, get into a relationship with someone who's really boring.
Although I'm not sure you'll sleep very good.
Oh, you won't?
Because they'll be boring, and then you would like, well, what am I doing in this relationship?
Yeah, well, then they get mad at you because you fell asleep right when they were talking.
Well,
yeah.
That's life, you know.
You can't win, Frank.
No, you can't. Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo concluded yesterday at Frontier Park in that final round in the bareback. Clay Jorgensen from Watford City, North Dakota, posted a 90. And he won over $8,400, and these numbers totals are just for what they won yesterday. In the saddle bronc, Logan Cook from Alto, Texas, with a 90, and he won over $8,100. T.J. Gray in the bull riding, he had a 90 and won the round and the CFD buckle. He's from Derry, Oregon, and won over $8,200. In the steer wrestling, Denton Good from Long Valley, South Dakota, with a 6 and 5 in the finals, won over $6,900 and the buckle. In the tie-down roping, Shab Mayfield, he's from Clovis, New Mexico, with a 10 and 1, picked up $9,200 just in one day alone. In the steer roping, Tough Hardman from Etobicoke, Patoka, Oklahoma, won over $10,000 yesterday with a 14-5 in the steer roping. In the team roping, Hayes Smith from Central Point, Oregon, and Justin Smith from Leesville, Louisiana, with an 8-3, and they won $9,200 each just yesterday. And in the barrel racing, Jordan Briggs, she's from Tolar, Texas, with a 17.06, and she won over $10,000 yesterday. The state AA Legion baseball tournament begins this morning at the Lansing Field in Casper. First game will be the Laramie against Sheridan at 10 a.m. The Cheyenne Sixers will take on Rock Springs at 1. The Gillette Rough Riders meeting the Cheyenne Hawks at 4. And the Casper Oilers in the late game taking on Jackson at 7 p.m. That tournament runs all week at Lansing Field. The State A Legion tournament is in Powell. Yesterday's action, Powell over Level 8-4. Cody beat Casper 5-4. Torrington eliminated Gillette 12-11. And Evanston eliminated Sheridan 5-3. So today at 1 o'clock up in Powell, Torrington will take on Casper at 1. Evanston meets Lovell at 4. And Cody versus Powell at 7 p.m. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies lost to San Francisco yesterday 5-4. The Giants swept that 4-game series. The Rockies scored just 9 runs in the series and struck out 53 times in that series. They are 38-69. They'll be in California tomorrow to take on the Los Angeles Angels. And the Paris Summer Olympics in Paris moving along. The Americans are leading the medal count. They have 12. And up on the agenda today, men's gymnastics, rifle, equestrian, and skateboarding.
Wow, skateboarding.
It's an Olympic sport, yeah.
Just curious, I might have to tune into that one. I know this will show. Have you watched any of it?
Be honest with you, no.
Okay.
I should,
yes,
but I haven't.
Well, I actually tuned into a few things. First off, I love gymnastics, as you know. I have to tune into that because I'm always amazed at what those people can do. But I spent a way too much time watching women's archery yesterday.
Oh, that's good. What's wrong with that?
Well, I just look at I think it makes me look geekier than I already am. But I am just fascinated by watching archers because that is extraordinarily difficult, especially at the distances they're shooting there. But
years ago there was a girl from Cheyenne who made the Olympics.
Really?
In archery. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, South Koreans won the gold.
Oh.
Again. Yeah. I think this might be their fourth.
They're dominating the archery thing.
All right. Good. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. It's smoky out there, I know. Smoke, as I was just talking last hour with Don Day from Day Weather, has decided to come from a different direction because California wants to help.
Today's show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tails.
Authentic artificial. That's what gets me every time. No, I was telling Don Day last half hour that, well, see, we were getting smoke from up there in Canada. The smoke ran out when the wood ran out. Canada has nothing left to burn. But don't worry. California's got plenty, so they lit their forests on fire, and that's what's coming at us right now. And it'll be with us for about a week or so. Sorry about that. All right, Tom, we have talked about this wind farm project in southern Wyoming. You might remember the rail tie wind farm project in southern Wyoming that, well, people who live out that way have been fighting this just tooth and nail. Well, there was recently some court rulings on this, but that doesn't mean that they're done because the homeowners lost. But they're saying not done yet. Story from Cowboy State Daily. Tie siding, the rail tie wind project, has been a thorn of contention in southern Wyoming for years, the story says. That's now evolved into a legal battle royale. The legal fight to kill the controversial wind project in Wyoming's southeastern Albany County may be one of the fiercest being waged over alternative forms of electricity in the state. Deep-pocketed donors who live in the 4,300-acre Fish Creek Ranch Preserve near Tie Sidon have kicked in money to pay the legal bills to halt the rail tie project, a disputed $500 million wind farm proposed by a Swedish energy giant. Which, by the way, when it says Swedish energy giant, I want to make sure to toss that in again. Wyoming Public Media did a story a while ago that, well, Wyoming talks about not wanting wind and solar and carbon sequestration, but they certainly make enough money off of it, enough for $3,000 per person in the state of Wyoming. That's how much. Have you gotten your check for $3,000 yet? I haven't. Who's making money off of this? Mostly not people in Wyoming. Most of the companies that are building in Wyoming are from out of Wyoming or even out of the country in some cases. So I'm not saying Wyoming makes nothing off of it. I mean, the state does make some tax revenue and so on. And certainly property owners who, if somebody owns private property and a company shows up with a lot of money, I mean, we're talking you just won the lottery kind of money. We would like to put wind turbines and solar panels on your property right about now. Oh, okay. With that kind of money, you go right ahead. Those people will benefit. But most of the companies benefiting here are either out of state, some are even out of the country. So take that Wyoming Public Media story and just throw that out. There's other big donors from the preserve who want to or have contributed to litigation to fight against rail tie. There's John Davis. He's a retired certified public accountant and lawyer from the Indianapolis Water Utility Company who built a dream cabin less than a mile from the border of Colorado in the foothills above the Laramie Plains. He climbed out of his Polaris Ranger and yelled through an open door of his neighbor's home to see if his friend Jim Grant could poke his head out during a Cowboy State visit. The Cowboy State Daily doing this, silence from there. Grant, a famous author who writes his thrillers, Jack Reacher novels under the pen name Lee Child, didn't answer. So, okay, the story goes on to talk about who else has money in the area. There's a dude ranch up in the area, you know, and many other people who have deep pockets who love that area. They moved to there because it's not just isolated, but wow, imagine the view that's out there. And I remember some people who are on the rail tie opposition team, if you will, a couple of years ago, called this program because they wanted just to make public awareness about what they were doing in trying to stop the project. And one of their main complaints is they own some pretty nice homes up there. They've got a good amount of property, and it's worth some money. And then to flood the area with wind turbines just completely destroys the view, which destroys their property value. That's one of the, not the only reason. They worry about animal migration. They worry about bird kills, things like this. But, yeah, those property values, that's a big part of it. So, okay, legal battles have been going on for quite a while. And when we finally get to the end of the legal battles where the judge has ruled against the homeowners out there, that's when the homeowners dig deeper into their pockets and get some money even from outside of there to go ahead and fight against it. Moral of the story is we're not going to hear the end of this. Now, let's also remember, I think they're going to have a bit of a problem. In Wyoming, much like with oil and gas and coal, if a company wants to drill or dig for a living, they have to put money aside. Should something go wrong and they end up going bankrupt, the money has been set aside to reclaim the land. That way we don't have to worry about, we're still doing mine and oil well reclamation from long before we ever had that as law. Well, the same goes for wind and solar. They have to put money up too should something happen that the land can be reclaimed. Although I'm with people on, they'll take down the wind tower, you know, with the blades and all of that. But what about the base of it that goes really deep, cement and all that kind of stuff? Will they do anything with that? I don't know the answer to that. But at some point, the subsidies on all of this run out. Now, I got some more news on subsidies. But at some point, the subsidies for all of this runs out. And so far, whenever the money runs out that's coming in from government, these projects shut down. And we end up with a bunch of dead-standing wind farms and solar farms. At some point, this money does run out because, as you know, your federal government is really broke. I mean, not just a little broke, seriously broke. So this can't continue on forever, and these things have not yet been profitable. The majority of wind and solar farms have not seen a profit. And give you an idea, there's a lot of reasons as to why not, many reasons. But one of the reasons is, let's just take a look at now. There's not a whole lot turning out there. That's not to say there's no wind. But we've reached, as Don Day has said, kind of the dog days of summer. And when that happens, the wind is just not. In fact, I'm looking at a website that I go to every day. It's an app, too. It's called Windy. And the Windy app just tracks wind all over the planet. It's really impressive. And it shows the wind. It shows how it moves. It's a really neat app. I'm looking at their website version right now. And throughout most of Wyoming, there's very little wind out there. The only thing that I really see, if you go north of Douglas and Glenrock and go up to past Wright toward Gillette, there's a nice breeze blowing up there. It's not a lot, but it's a nice breeze. Other than that, the rest of the state, in fact, the rest of what we call the West and Midwest, is pretty much just dead, not blowing. If I head over to Idaho, into Utah, Nevada, California, Oregon, Washington State, even head on down to New Mexico, Arizona, there's just nothing going on with the wind. When I'm into Nebraska and the Dakotas, there's really not much going on with wind right now. It's almost completely calm out there, which means your wind turbines are not turning. So for those people who would love to have the air conditioner on today, what are you going to do? Yeah. And then with all the smoky haze out there, that doesn't help those solar panels a whole lot, does it? Then this is going to happen. When we do get some rain coming back, and we will, probably next week, we get some rain coming back. When the rain falls, it falls through the smoke. And as you know, that makes dirty rain. I know because I'm looking at the hood of my car after it rained, and it's filthy. And it's going to do that to solar panels. Yeah. So as we know, not very efficient. One of the many reasons these things don't make a lot of money. So for those people in the rail tie area who are fighting what they want to build in their backyard and have been fighting for quite a while, and they've got some deep pockets to fight with, those people are not just worried about what happens when this whole project is built and having to put up with it, but what happens when it finally goes bankrupt. 816, wake up one.
He's talking to himself in a padded room, and you could be the voice in his head. Join the conversation on Wake Up Wyoming, 866-97-WOODS.
8:21's the time. Wake Up Wyoming, Monday edition. All right, so since I was just talking about the rail tie project, which if you just joined me, that's at Wind Project, Albany County. And it's in an area where there's some people with some really deep pockets that don't want the project because, well, they bought in that area for a reason. And it's not just the bird kills or the migration corridors. It's their property values and on it goes. Now, we're not just having problems here in Wyoming, and it's going to get expensive worldwide. But hold on. Before I get into that, ladies and gentlemen, you know, of course, we're living in the end times.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator. And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too. See, I'm not afraid of dying, just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
We'll go to Germany now, where Janet Yellen says, oh, by the way, we're going to need another $3 trillion per year to fight climate change. Oh, did I say? I'm sorry. I said we went to Germany. Why? I don't know why I said Germany in there. It's getting to seem like Germany. Washington, D.C., Janet Yellen. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Saturday that the global transition to a low-carbon economy requires $3 trillion in new capital every year through 2050. How you guys okay with that? You think we got another $3 trillion a year to spend on this? What was the national debt last you looked? Yeah, we're about $35 trillion in debt right now. And when you include unfunded liabilities and all sorts of other things, we're well over $100 trillion in debt. And we're reaching the point real soon here where we are borrowing money to pay the interest on the debt. We're not even paying down the principal. We borrow money to pay the interest on the money that we borrowed. So we're going to get to the point that we can't even afford the interest anymore. Well, according to our Treasury Secretary, in order to reach a low-carbon emission economy, we're going to need another $3 trillion in new capital each year through 2050, far above the current annual financing. A little bit, you think, but that filing gap is the biggest economic opportunity of the 21st century, she says. This is an investment. By golly, you just got to give us another $3 trillion a year and we can make this happen. She says neglecting to address climate change and the loss of natural and biodiversity is just not bad environmental policy. It's bad economic policy, she said in a speech after attending a G20 finance leadership meeting in Rio de Janeiro, which, by the way, they all got there by corporate jet in order to have a meeting about becoming carbon neutral. She actually said we would need an additional $3 trillion per year more than we're already spending. And where does she suppose we're going to get the money from? Now, you already know the answer to that without me telling you. The United States would be expected to shoulder the lion's share of the burden cost, because she's talking globally here, not just United States. And we'll wind up paying for most of this madness like we are now. There are only 7 countries on the entire planet with the domestic GDP of more than $3 trillion. She is clearly just pulling numbers out of thin air at this point. The amazing point there is the pivot that she made, moving to describe climate change as a huge economic opportunity. Of course, reality is it's a massive economic opportunity if you happen to have stock. Well, that's how you think Al Gore got rich, right? So if you were with Al Gore investing in everything he was doing, you could have gotten really stinking rich, just like Al Gore did, because they're making a ton of money off of this. Now, since we don't have the money to do this, and no, the planet's not in danger, obviously the best thing to do is to stop it all. Just absolutely. And you got to ask at some point. You really do have to ask at some point. When are they asking for too much? I think they started asking for too much, demanding too much a long time ago. When do they demand too much of your freedoms, liberties, your money? I mean, globally speaking here, when do they just demand too much? And then when are they willing to sacrifice? This is part of the reason that I started many years ago calling it the cult of climate change. When you take a look at how a cult operates, a true cult, you notice everybody's making enormous sacrifices and living in poverty except for the leaders of the cult. Not just the leader himself, the big Swami or whoever it is that runs the cult, but the people immediately around the leader of the cult. They're making tons of money. They're fat. They're living well. They have corporate jets. They have big mansions. Okay, they have really nice clothes. They live well. They're treated like royalty. And yet those people who support the cult members, will sacrifice everything. This is what made me, many years ago, think this is just a doomsday cult, because what they're demanding that we do is all give up everything. We have to give up our personal freedoms. We have to give up our property. We have to give up any money that you have. You have to cough that up too. You're going to have to work hard, labor hard to keep everything going. Your labor is going to be really important here, your hard work, and it's all going to go toward fighting climate change. In the meantime, people at the top of the heap, like an Al Gore type, to name one, are still living in their big mansions and flying in their corporate jets and getting rich off of all of this. So you see, that was the first clue to me that this is a type of cult, like a doomsday cult, which is why I say at some point we just need, and soon, hopefully, bring an end to all of this, especially when we got someone like our own Janet Yellen saying that, well, we just need another $3 trillion a year. A year. When she first said that, I thought, total, right? $3 trillion total? No, a year. Up until about 2050. Oh, no, it's going to go well beyond 2050. It's got to go way beyond 2050. You know it won't. It will never end. They'll keep demanding more. So at some point, the plug on this has to be pulled. And it doesn't get pulled until we start really, we're getting there, we're making progress, but really exposing who and what these people are. Okay, but next up on this, well, same topic, but this is just going to amuse the hell out of you. How is it possible that every country can be warming faster than all of the other countries all at the same time? Sometimes when you pull their own headlines, you realize how bad this really is. I mean, how bad the fraud really is. We'll get into it next. Local news, weather forecast, and then the fraud. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Ladies and gentlemen, the only hit song Al Gore ever thought that he had.
You're driving a big car. I come on your radio. I say the end's close. You just say no. I say it's global warming, but you call me a liar. But this planet's on fire.
So let's take a look at a bunch of headlines. This is actually a lot of fun. I ran this through several times this morning going, you guys are just going to love this. Let's take a look at a whole bunch of different headlines out there and compare them with each other, because there can't possibly be more than one nation which is heating up faster than all the other nations, right? All right, here we go. Canada warming faster than the rest of the world, says environmentalists in Canada. So now keep that in mind, because you're going to hear that a lot. Canada warming faster than the rest of the world, says environmentalists in Canada. All right. Next one. Mexico is warming faster than the rest of the planet, they say. Wherever they is, I guess, but okay. Latin America and the Caribbean, or Caribbean if you say it that way, warming faster than the global average. Now, how can all of they be? It's got to be one of them, right? Only one place on the planet can warm faster than the rest of the planet, right? Okay, moving on. Let's see. The Arctic has warmed nearly 4 times faster than the globe since 1979. So the entire Arctic now. All right. Well, I mean, obviously, Asia is warming faster than the global average, warns WMO. Whoever the heck they are. I forget. I'll look it up again. But now, if all of Asia is warming than the rest of the planet, then there's no way anywhere else on the planet can be warming any faster than Asia, right? Except Africa. Here's a headline that says, Africa is warming faster than the rest of the world, says the IPCC assessment report. Now, see, I blame a couple of things as I read through this. One of them is, here are environmentalist organizations like the IPCC and other environmental groups from around the world, each making a claim about their own area. I'm not done yet, by the way. But Canadian environmentalists, Canada's warming faster than Mexican environmentalists. Mexico's warming faster than the rest of the world. What gets me is these are all sorts of different news organizations writing these headlines, and they're not checking with each other. So what it takes is, I guess they would not only not think to check with each other, but if they did know about all of these headlines, they don't think that anyone's actually going to collect them all and put them together. The United States is warming 60% faster than the world is, according to the National Climate Assessment. So we are not prepared for what's coming, they say. So hang on. I started this one by saying Canada is warming faster than the rest of the world. Well, excuse us, Canada, but we got you beat because this headline says that we in the United States are warming faster than you. So take that. But hang on. Europe warming almost twice as fast as global average, report says. Another news headline that I'm looking at here. So now Europe wants a piece of that action. Okay. But not to be outdone, according to Newsweek magazine, Russia climate is heating up faster than the rest of the world. Well, no one's going to outdo Russia, right? Putin's got this, right? Australia is warming faster than the global average. So take that, Russia. Canada, you can just forget it. Because that's Australia, by golly. And that's mostly desert down there. They don't have any permafrost, so, but hang on. And Putin, you better watch out. Because right next door to you is China. And China, according to this headline, in the Indonesian Times, China is warming up faster than the rest of the world. So they can't be outdone by anybody else. But, you know, those small countries matter too, right? There's some small country out there that feels left out. Nobody's mentioning them. So the small country, Finland, is warming faster than the rest of the world. Well, I mean, you're going to argue with Finland? Well, okay. Well, according to Global News, we're back to Canada. According to Global News, Canada warms 2 times faster than the rest of the world. Okay, here's another Canadian headline, faster than the rest of the world. All right. Well, I guess Canada didn't want to be outdone. I mean, yeah. But I guarantee you, when Putin gets a hold of that, he's going to be so mad. He'll probably go after Finland first. I mean, you think probably what happened is Putin invaded Ukraine because Ukraine claimed that they were warming faster than Russia was. Now Finland has made the mistake, and so once they get done losing to Ukraine, Putin will take what's left of his army and try to invade Finland, which I don't think he's going to be very successful at this. But think about all of these different headlines here. How can all of this be true? How can all of the... And don't forget, the science is settled, the debate is over, right? The science is completely settled. There's no way that this could possibly be true. Because it's contradictory, and contradictions cannot exist. So what do we do here? What also, again, surprises me is a lot of these are news organizations from around the planet, but you would have thunk it at some point. Some news reporter who is digging around, especially a climate news, because, you know, they do have news reporters who specialize in climate change. So these news reporters are digging all throughout the news all over the world looking for their next story. You know, something to scare you with, which is what they write about. Because it's all a doomsday cult philosophy. So they got to find the next thing to scare you with. Some reporter somewhere would have went, hold on. How can this be true everywhere on the planet? I mean, if Canada is warming faster than all the other nations in the world, then how can Finland be warming faster than all the other nations in the world? Right. Okay, so it wasn't, maybe someone did notice, but they decided not to say anything until this reporter here who works for a conservative news organization. He noticed it. He put it all together. And this conservative news organization deals with climate change issues. So now he's put all this together, and I'm glad he's put it out there. But you will never hear this picked up by those major news organizations because they were part of it. I'm not saying part of a conspiracy, but they were part of this. Every place is warming up faster than every other place. I would like this. I'm going to try to spread around a little bit myself, but because it does show, for those people who wonder, Glenn, you're a skeptic when it comes to human-caused climate change? Add this to the list of reasons why. 8:45, Wake Up Wyoming.
Honestly, he's just happy to be here. Catch Glenn Woods on Wake Up Wyoming, weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino waiting by. Okay, now, Frank, I'm going to remind you of some childhood pain.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks for reminding me.
You fell off your bike.
How many times?
Yeah, okay. And you just kept getting back on.
Right, until you couldn't get back on.
Right.
You say, you know what, I'm done for a couple of days until that strawberry heals, you know?
Yeah, okay, and remember, of course, that great piece of medical advice, rub some dirt in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fell out of a tree. Not as easy to do in Wyoming.
No, but you can.
You can, yeah.
Or if you jump and you don't land very well,
Sure,
I'll call that falling.
Sure. Okay. And then, of course, this has to do with trees and bikes and so on. Skinned your knee.
Yeah.
Okay. How many other childhood injuries can we name? I mean, it just goes on and on, right?
Well, I mean, you could be hit by a car.
No, I wouldn't. Well, okay. Sure, we can do. Yeah.
You know, you can fall down the stairs.
Yeah.
You know, climbing up on the garage roof and then falling off the roof.
Sure. I went up there to try to fly, but okay.
You know,
okay, now.
Throwing your little brother through the window, you know.
You did that?
No.
No, okay. You thought about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you're an adult.
Okay.
Slept wrong.
Yeah, you know, there's something weird about that thing. You know, like, what happened to my neck? You know, wow. You know?
God, that hurts worse than falling off your damn bike.
Yeah, it's like,
yeesh.
I wasn't doing anything.
No, I was sleeping. I'm supposed to be comfortable. I'm supposed to wake up without any pain, but, okay. Sat down too long.
Yeah. You kind of lose feeling in,
yes, you do,
in some parts of your body.
Yeah, okay. So, and that again could be much worse than falling out of a tree if you do that wrong. Okay.
Right.
Now, here's the one that scares me. Because if you ever have sneeze anxiety?
Well, especially when you're driving.
Yes.
Because your eyes will close when you sneeze.
Yeah.
So if you're sneezing 5 times in like 30 seconds, you're not really paying attention to the road. You could end up in a ditch because of a sneeze.
Okay, so you're one of those who does multiple sneezes?
Oh.
Okay, I get it over with in one big one. I'll probably blow the windshield out, but I get it over with in one big sneeze. I never do anymore. But still, we've all as adults had that anxiety of, I'm about to sneeze. Is this going to hurt?
Well, I would look at it this way. You're about to sneeze and you're at a funeral.
Yeah.
Or a wedding.
Or wedding, something like that, yeah. Worst possible time.
Something that's real solemn or quiet.
Yeah. But then you might throw your back out.
Well, that...
You know. Okay. So, in other words, the things that we didn't worry about and hurt ourselves with as a kid now. Frank, we're getting old.
Yes, we are. American Legion Baseball, the state AA tournament begins in Casper this morning at Lansing Field. First game will have Sheridan versus Laramie. They'll be coming up at 10 o'clock. Followed at 1 o'clock by defending champion Cheyenne. The Sixers will take on Rock Springs. The Cheyenne Hawks also win this tournament. They'll play the Gillette Rough Riders at 4 p.m. And the Casper Oilers will take on Jackson at 7 p.m. And that tournament will run the rest of the week over at Lansing Field. The State A Legion tournament continues today in Powell. Yesterday, the Powell over Lovell 8-4, and Cody defeated the Casper Drillers 5-4. In a loser-out game, Torrington got by Gillette 12-11. In another loser-out game, Evanston beat Sheridan 5-3. Now today at 1 p.m., Torrington will play Casper in a loser-out game. Evanston plays Lovell in a loser-out game, and in the winner's bracket, Cody will take on Powell at 7 p.m. That tournament continues tomorrow and will conclude on Wednesday up in Powell. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies lost to San Francisco Mexico 5-4. The Rockies lost all 4 games of that series. They scored 9 runs over the course of 4 games. This is just after they had scored 20 runs in 1 game versus Boston. They struck out 53 times in the series. They're 38-69. They'll be in Southern California tomorrow to meet the Los Angeles Angels. The Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo did conclude yesterday at Frontier Park with some big checks handed out and a lot of prestige. In the bareback, Clay Jorgensen from Watford City, North Dakota, won the short go of the bareback with a 90, so he won $8,400 just for that. In the saddle bronc, Logan Cook with a 90 in the short go, and he's from Alto, Texas, and he won $8,100 just in the final round. TJ Gray in that short go with a 90 in the bull riding. He's from Derry, Oregon, picked up $8,200 for that. In the steer wrestling, Denton Good from Long Valley, South Dakota, with a 6 and 5, so he won $6,900. Shad Mayfield, he's out of Clovis, New Mexico, with a 10 and 1 in the tie down roping. He won over $9,200 just on Sunday alone. In the steer roping, Tuff Hardman from Matoka, Oklahoma, won over $10,000 yesterday with a 14 and 5. Hayes Smith from Central Point, Oregon, and Justin Smith from Leesville, Louisiana, with an 8 and 3 in the team roping to win the short go, and they won $9,200 each just for that particular effort. And in the barrel racing, Jordan Briggs, she's from Tolar, Texas, with a 17.06, and she won over $10,000 too. So a lot of big money at CFD this year.
Smalls, who's listening to us in Casper, says, my mom rear-ended a cop car at a traffic light when she sneezed. She was 17 years old.
Oh.
Wow.
Did you get a ticket for this,
That's what I would love to know. Smalls, did she get a ticket for that?
Yeah.
We need to know the answer to that.
Ticket for sneezing?
Yes, I guess so. And then, of course, she had to wipe down the inside of her windshield.
Well, yeah, that could be,
yeah. All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. I got roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Wake up Wyoming. Time is 9:06. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It is a Monday.
The show is sponsored by chocolate-covered beaver tail, made with authentic artificial beaver tails.
So you see, it's the authentic artificial that makes it think it's not just delicious, but got to be nutritious, right?
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Okay, so I've been waiting for these people up in space to come down for a while, and I think that when they come down, we should play the song Major Tom. You know, Ground Control to Major Tom, all of that. Starliner, which, by the way, was made by Boeing, is still up at the International Space Station. And they swear to us they're not stuck there. But okay. Story says it's now been more than a month since Boeing publicly acknowledged that they knew their Starliner spaceship had a helium leak when it was sitting on the launch pad. But they went ahead and sent it up anyway. I mean, really, I've lost all confidence in Boeing, which I hate to say that because Boeing has been one of the greatest globally for many decades. Not just airlines, but military aircraft and space aircraft. Boeing has been it. Top of the heap. What has happened? So while the results weren't as disastrous as you might think, They were not a worst-case scenario, but still. One leak soon turned out to be 4, and then there were some booster rocket fails when they initially attempted to dock at the International Space Station. Astronauts have been stuck on the space station for 50 days now. In their latest press release, Boeing still sounds like they're trying to paint a sunny picture. Of course they are. Now, this is their Starliner capsule. SpaceX put up a capsule which, as you know, is just state-of-the-art. There is currently nothing better anywhere by SpaceX. And SpaceX is way ahead of everybody by just leaps and bounds. So Boeing wanting to catch up, a private company wanting to catch up and get those contracts from NASA, which I get it because I love competition. I really do. It's what makes things better. So Boeing makes their Starliner, but now they're having all the problems. The story says Boeing's crew spacecraft Starliner will stay docked with the International Space Station until August. So that's a few days away here. Which Thursday is when, as the mission remains on hold while the company and the agency try to sort out these problems. Now, they keep telling, I've been watching some interviews with, are you guys stranded up there? No, we can get down. Well, sure, if you use an escape pod, maybe. If you're going to hitch a ride with some other capsule to come on down, maybe SpaceX can rescue you. Starliner capsule called Calypso, which carried NASA astronauts, has now been in space for 50 days and counting. The Boeing crew, the flight tested, has been extended several days for this test here. Testing on the ground. Basically what they're doing is they're testing not just up in space, but there's always a mock-up. If you watch the movie Apollo 13, you know this. They go ahead and make a spacecraft, but then they make a mock-up of it. So if anything goes wrong up in space, there's guys on the ground who can walk into one that's the exact duplicate, and they can try to replicate what's going on up there and solve the problem from the ground. So that's what's happening. NASA's commercial crew manager said during a press conference Thursday the agency was not prepared to set a return date. We're making great progress, he said. Okay, so how much great progress could they have been making for nearly 2 months now? If they still can't say whether or not the Starliner will be able to safely return. The International Space Station, technological wonder, but it too is limited in tools and repair capabilities, so what can they fix up there? They have to do what is required with a helium leak, okay, but what about the faulty thrusters? So Boeing claims that they have been flight tested, firing other thrusters while at White Sands to see how it performs, which is great. They also say that they'll be conducting another static firing of the previously malfunctioning thrusters, the ship while it's docked with the International Space Station. So it's not like they aren't working the problem. So it's good news if they can get these announcements out. Now, for the moment, SpaceX and Boeing are pretty much the only two games in town. Europeans have developed some fairly robust rocket systems, but they're still working on those. For a while, as you know, and this is where you hear me complain about bureaucracy all the time. Much like many of you, growing up, I was all about NASA. But NASA became much too bureaucratic and sloppy, to the point where despite all the money that NASA was getting, it didn't matter how much money we gave them, they just couldn't seem to get anything in space anymore. And it was a lot to do with just things got way too bulky and bureaucratic. One NASA administrator, and I really have to give her credit for this, and of all places, she was working for Obama at the time, but she did something very un-Obama-like. She turned NASA over a lot of what it does to the private sector. She, as the NASA administrator, said, obviously NASA can't get anything done. This is when we were going to Russia to launch things into space. Imagine doing that now. with the invasion of Ukraine and all of that. But we were going to Russia to hitch rides because we couldn't do it ourselves. Well, that looks really bad. So she said, that's it, forget it. NASA doesn't know how to do this anymore. We're going to go to the private sector. And she's the NASA administrator doing this. So that's where companies started popping up all over the place. And the two leading companies, there are other companies trying to do it, but the two leading companies are SpaceX and Boeing. Now, right away, I thought at the beginning of this, well, Boeing's got it. I mean, come on, they're Boeing, for Pete's sake. They've got this. Well, apparently not, because Boeing has gotten sloppy. And yes, we've had problems with bolts blowing off of doors on an airliner and other such problems with some Boeing airplanes. And I know we've had the discussion here. It's not just the manufacturing of them, but these airplanes go through all sorts of maintenance when they're on the ground. A lot of maintenance. So you got to take a look at that too. But still, a lot of these problems came from the factories. At this point, I really worry about Boeing, and it would be good if they could get people at the company who were thinking straight once away and got their minds set on, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but you out there who know how capitalism works and what it can do, they need to get their minds set on profitability for all the right reasons. And what I mean by that is quality at an affordable price. And that's what brings businesses. The highest quality at the best possible price. And taking pride in their work. And beating the competition with quality and great prices and great service. Get back to that. The fundamentals of capitalism. Forget the woke mob. Get back to the fundamentals of capitalism. And they can be the world's greatest once again, and give SpaceX a run for their money.
Welcome to Woke Radio WOK. Let's look at today's calendar and see what we're offended by. Or you can go outside and play it by ear. Just make sure everybody feels as miserable as you.
News and weather together at the top and bottom of every hour. This is Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Coming up on 922, it's Wake Up Wyoming. We haven't heard from Senator Pocahontas in a while. It's about time. Now, to be clear, I know some of you will disagree, entirely think, not 100%, that she deserves the title of Senator Pocahontas, although I'm going to keep using it because she deserves to be picked on. If your grandmother had told you your entire life that you were part American Indian, you would believe it. Until one day someone says, well, how about you do a DNA test there? And she does. And finds out she's nowhere near, there's no Indian in her. There's nothing. There's nothing in her. But she had spent her lifetime believing it. What I have a problem with is she used it to her advantage. I'm a minority. And did all she could to get jobs in front of everybody else. Because I'm a minority, and so that's what I had a problem with. Plus, she's a socialist and she's a liar, and then you're going to just love this. So she has to do all she can at this point because she wants the Democrats to win, to support Vice President Harris to become president. Sometimes when these people make an argument they think is in favor of their candidate, they don't realize that they just made an argument against. Much like when people make an argument against why we should vote for Trump, some of us sit here thinking, but you just told me all the reasons that I should vote for him. You look at those as bad things. I don't. So let's talk about illegal immigration. Senator Pocahontas on CNN talking with Jake Tapper.
President Biden charged Vice President Harris with addressing the root causes of mass migration at the border by going to those Central American countries. She's consistently defended his handling of the border crisis. I don't need to tell you, voters overwhelmingly disapprove of how the Biden-Harris administration has handled the border by giving the nomination to one of the leaders of the border effort. Aren't Democrats doubling down on one of your party's biggest vulnerabilities?
Well, let's
remember to start with the facts, and that is that border crossings now are lower than they were in the last year of the Trump administration. But recognize, and I know that Kamala Harris knows this is a problem that ultimately has to be solved by Congress. We need the tools in order to have more resources at the border, to have more resources in the states and cities that are supporting migrants, and I believe we need to create a pathway to citizenship. All of that is a part of what we need to do for comprehensive immigration reform.
Okay, now let's take a look at what she just got wrong. That's pure propaganda. So, okay. Border crossings are now, they're about the same level when Trump was leaving office. Oh, okay, well, we can go ahead and check that, and that may be true. But what about the rest of the time? Oh, first off, quit calling them migrants. They're illegal immigrants. That's what they are. But they're okay, so let's take a good look then at how many have crossed the border while Biden has been president. Yeah, that far exceeds anything that ever happened under Trump. So just because they have a momentary lull in the number of people crossing, am I supposed to congratulate for that after what's happened before? And then furthermore, to do nothing about it, even to deny that we were having a problem when we all could see it. Talk about gaslighting. Massive numbers of illegals just pouring over our border, causing all sorts of problems, some of them. And here's the Biden administration gaslighting us. We're not having any such problem. There it is, though. And yes, to appoint Vice President Harris as border czar, even though they're saying fact-checking shows he never did that. Yes, he did. Fact-checking shows he did do that. And then she went down. She did nothing. She didn't do anything about it. All right. Then there's the idea of the pathway to, one more. She says, we need to give Congress, and Congress needs to give the president the tools so the president can do something. The president has always had the tools to deal with this. He has always had the tools to deal with this. We don't need more money. We don't need more laws. We have everything in place. He just needs to enforce the law. That's all he has to do. Then comes the part about the pathway to citizenship, and some of you will agree with me, some won't, but as far as I'm concerned, if someone entered this country sneaking in, okay, getting around our laws, that's illegal. And so therefore my answer is get out. Just get out. We're gonna send you back. Wherever back may be, we're going to send, because they didn't just come from Mexico. I mean, they came from all over the world. So then this is going to be the hard part, to find people, because even the court systems, someone would be arrested and then they were told, well, you have a court date in 5 years, so be back here in 5 years. And they were just let go. Well, who knows where they are now? So, well, we're just going to provide them a pathway to citizenship. No, you got to go. You broke into our house, you got to go. At some point, if they would like to come back legally, we can certainly talk about that and work something out. I am in favor of some kind of reform because there have been people who've done this legally. They did everything they were supposed to do to immigrate to this country. And 10 years later, and a lot of money spent, and they're still trying to become Americans. That's got to be fixed. We can do better than that. Morning, Rianne. Yo, please tell me no one is buying that, what's she saying? Well, here's the thing, Rianne. When it comes to someone like Elizabeth Warren, to pick one example, there are people who already believe her. No matter what she says, they're going to believe her. Those people are fools. They're already gone. All right. And then there's those people who are sort of borderline. They're typically referred to as low information voters. They really don't know what to believe because they never research anything. So they might hear it and actually believe it because they've never bothered to look anything up. Senator Warren can say anything and they'll just believe it because they heard it on television. That's your low information voter. You know. Morons. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
When you need to know quicker than the morning paper or the 5 o'clock news, you need Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Mornings on K2 Radio.
9:36 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So this morning I'm getting on my messages to send me Watt and Judy, who lives over there in Mills, who usually calls a couple of times a week just to vent. Sent me something, a piece of audio, which I thought, oh, someone had the same idea that I had. Here's what they did.
Donald Trump and U-Haul are teaming up for the ultimate moving deal. So, here's the scoop. Donald Trump has a brilliant idea. He's offering free U-Hauls to all Democrats who just can't with his next term. That's right, folks. Pack your bags, grab your maple syrup, and wave goodbye to the good old USA. And move to Canada. After all, it's the Democratic dreamland. Universal health care, anyone? Trump's campaign even has the slogan, "We'll miss you," eh? So, if you're a Democrat ready to make the great escape, don't forget to book your U-Haul. And maybe brush up on your French. Au revoir, mes amis. And for the rest of us, let's just sit back and enjoy the show.
Yeah, that was just perfect. Which reminds me of, years ago I did this. This is an old one, but it works today, too. All of those people who say, look, if he gets it, I'm out, I'm moving to Canada. Please, fine, we'll help you pack.
Are you a liberal who actually said out loud that you would leave the country if a Republican was elected president?
I'm serving my ticket to get out of here if he wins. Only because he probably have me deported anyway.
If any Republican gets nominated, I'm going to move to Canada with my entire family.
I'm sure you meant elected, not nominated. And you're sure Canada really wants you?
Now, I know some of you are saying that you'll move to Canada. Please don't.
Well, let it never be said that conservatives are not compassionate. Because now, a free service brought to you by Taxing the American People will help you move today with Move-A-Lib. With Move-A-Lib, we will arrive at your door the moment that the election is settled. Our fleet of Move-A-Lib professionals are anxious to get your sorry butts out of here immediately. Need more than one truck? Oh, for God's sakes, we'll take care of that for you. No problem. Can't afford a plane ticket? We'll put you on a boat. Just name a country and we'll provide all of the documentation to send you there as quickly as possible. Once you leave, you're not welcome back. And please don't let the screen door hit you on the way out. Call today. 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. That's 1-800-MOVE-A-LIB. Reserve your moving van before November.
So you see, I had thought about that quite a few years ago, the first time Trump ran for president.
Every day Americans are suffering under a burden of astronomical health care costs. If I'm elected, there's probably not a whole lot I can do about it. Because you see, the health care industry, they donate over $73 million to politicians every year. So my plan is just to push their agenda so they'll keep that money coming my way. The way I figure it, this health care thing, it's not a big priority. But don't worry about me, because once you vote me in, I get great benefits. I hope a gym membership, too. I'm Gil Fulbright. For the right price, I'll approve any message.
Yeah, see, and that's how they work.
Bill, really?
Yeah, especially when they're worried about their donors.
Hi, I'm Gil Fulbright.
Real, hardworking Americans are important to me is a tagline I will be using throughout this entire campaign.
Dramatic camera angle can make me look like a president. With the conviction to nod, the courage to point,
and the experience to cram buzzwords into everything I jobs. Ideas, policies, morals. These are things I don't need. What I need is $2 billion.
Here's the part where I gloss over important issues. Issues like education and making it good, the economy, and improving it by repeating the word jobs.
And blah, 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 something to get votes from women and minorities. I have a 5-step plan for making America better. Appeal to special interests, billionaires, and lobbyists behind closed doors. Raise $2 billion. Promise you earnestly that it'll be different this time. get elected, break all my promises to you, and work tirelessly for the big donors who bought my presidency. Anytime I can pull a favor for special interest, it always gives me a huge donor. And at this point in my political career, anytime I can get a donor last longer than 4 years, well, I'm honest Gil Fulbright, and I approve of whatever my marketing team has put into this message.
And you know, anytime a politician says that they are telling the truth, or like Biden recently said, I know how to tell the truth, of course not.
We hooked this average politician up to a lie detector so we could discern exactly when he was lying and when he was telling the truth.
Good morning.
Ooh, off to a bad start.
I'm happy to be here.
Really? Can't even tell the truth about that, huh?
Your government is hard at work.
Ooh, not doing well, are we?
We have solved many problems.
Come on, just tell the truth once.
Care about your well-being.
I don't think he has it in him. I'm telling the truth, I mean.
We will take responsible steps.
Come on now, this is for all the money.
Well, we want to solve these problems.
We have faith in you. Well, no, we don't.
Because the last administration...
Ooh, swing and a miss.
I promise I will...
I'm thinking this is not going to end well.
Oh, I promise I will... Come on.
And there you have it. A perfect score.
I oftentimes, and Rand, if you're still listening, this is answer to something you were saying about Senator Pocahontas just a few minutes ago. Senator Pocahontas is just spouting some drivel, and Rand wants to know, does anyone believe it? Please tell me no one believes this. Well, here's the thing. When politicians and news media are talking, I am pleasantly surprised when what they say turns out to be true. In fact, it's very typical that I look at news headlines and I think to myself, wow, imagine if that was true. Yeah, I do that a lot. So you can imagine the trust issues I've developed over the years. Okay. And when I say I've developed trust issues, and I would bet that you have too, and the more you pay attention, the more trust issues you would have with what people are saying and what they're doing, what they're trying to convince you of. That's not you. You're okay. You don't need any help. You develop these trust issues for a really good reason. It's the other people who you don't trust. Those are the ones who really need the help. 9:43, wake up.
Like a strong cup of coffee in the morning. Tasteless, but it'll get you through the day. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
9:48 is the time. Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox to talk to Frank Gambino. Okay, Frank, here's things we've learned from the movies, but I think we haven't learned, really.
Well, some movies will teach you very valuable lessons.
Yes, and others should have.
Yes.
Do not build a dinosaur park.
Do not build a dinosaur park?
Yes. Yeah.
Because you'll need dinosaurs to be in it.
Yeah. Well, in fact, there are there's scientists out there actually looking at little bugs, mosquitoes, and so on that are inside that amber. Remember, you watched Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
And they're wondering, and even they want to go back and do things like clone a woolly mammoth out of what we made movies about this. It never ends well.
Right, yeah. The woolly mammoth thing maybe will survive
maybe.
a zoo. Maybe.
All right. Next, don't try to build a second dinosaur park.
No, because the first one wasn't so good.
Yes, okay. Yeah, really. I mean, it was a worse of a disaster, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's okay. Why they did that again. Don't take an aerial tour of a dinosaur park.
Why?
You'll crash in the park.
Oh, I thought maybe the velociraptors would attack the helicopter.
That could possibly be it, too. But you always wind up crashed in the middle of the park and then your lunch.
Right.
Okay.
Or dinner.
Don't engineer bigger dinosaurs and invite a bunch of families to your dinosaur park.
You know, I don't know why they were let in to begin with.
Gee, and that's what got me when I'm watching the next movie. I'm thinking, the first couple of parks were disastrous. Why would you reopen the park a third time and engineer even bigger dinosaurs that never really existed in the first place?
And they're mean.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're hungry.
Yeah.
Yes, and you're running around going, squeak, squeak, squeak. What does that look like?
Why? Just why?
Yes,
Just why?
Like a cat and a mouse. And finally, Don't build your dinosaur park on top of a volcano.
Because, no, that'd be a good idea, because if you're tired of the dinosaurs, the volcano will erupt and just bury them in lava and ash.
Theoretically, yes, but if you saw the movie,
no,
didn't work out that way. No,
it never works out in Jurassic Park.
And so unless you're intending to use stuffed little fuzzy dinosaurs that you buy at the toy store, I would say don't do this.
No.
Okay.
All right. American Legion baseball to the max in Casper with the state AA tournament at Lansing Field. First up here and right at the top of the hour will be Sheridan against Laramie at 10. Then the Cheyenne Sixers, the defending state champions who made it all the way to the Legion World Series championship game last year. They will play at 1 o'clock against Rock Springs. In Gillette, the Rough Riders will take on the Cheyenne Hawks at 4 p.m. and the Casper Oilers will take on Jackson. That'll be at 7 p.m. at Lansing Field. The tournament will run all week over at Lansing Field in Casper. The State A Legion tournament is in Powell, and yesterday Cody defeated the Casper Drillers 5-4, and Powell doubled Lovell 8-4. In 2 loser-out games yesterday, Torrington defeated Gillette 12-11, and Evanston over Sheridan 5-3. Today in a loser-out game, Torrington will take on Casper at 1 o'clock. Evanston will meet Lovell at 4 p.m., and Cody and Powell at 7 p.m. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will be taking on the Los Angeles Angels tomorrow in Southern California. The Rockies lost to San Francisco yesterday 5-4 on the road, and they had scored just 9 runs in that series, and they struck out 53 times. They were swept in that 4-game series and currently sit at 38-69 on the year. Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo concluded yesterday with some big money checks handed out and some prestigious saddles and buckles, that's for sure. In the bareback, Clay Jorgensen out of Watford City, North Dakota, posted a 90, and he won the short go and $8,455 that goes with it, plus added money through the first 6 performances and the semifinals. In the saddle bronc, Logan Cook with a 90. He's out of Alto, Texas to win the short go and won $8,100 and change. In the bull riding, TJ Gray from Derry, Oregon with a 90 in the short go. He won over $8,200. In the steer wrestling, Denton Good from Long Valley, South Dakota, a winner of $6,900. He had a 6 and 5 in the short go of the steer wrestling. In the tie-down roping, Shad Mayfield from Clovis, New Mexico, a 10 and 1 in the short go that was worth $9,200. Tough Hardman from Otoka, Oklahoma, with 14 and 5 in the steer roping in that short go, won over $10,000 in that deal. In the team roping, Hayes Smith from Central Point, Oregon, and Justin Smith from Leesville, Louisiana, won $9,200 each by going 8 and 3 in the short go. And Jordan Briggs out of Texas, a 17.06, and she won over $10,000 at Cheyenne Frontier Days. That's it this morning.
Okay, so real quick quiz for you then. Okay, I'm going to give you $5,000 cash, but in order to get the money, you've got to climb on top of that big, angry bull. I'm going to strap you to the bull and open up the gate and see what happens.
5,000,
yes,
that's it?
Yes.
Add a lot more zeros.
Okay. And move
a lot more
I can add zeros, but they're on the wrong side of the decimal point. I can do that all day.
The 5 is the one that's on the left.
Yes, okay. So, but in other words, that's not enough.
But not even close.
These guys do it for fun.
Yeah.
You don't even have to pay them.
Ask them how they feel this morning.
God. Sore?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Frank. Let's wake up, Wyoming.